Court is back in session in the criminal hush money trial against former President Trump. Trump's defense team is expected to rest its case today in this final stretch of his historic criminal hush money trial. Before entering the courtroom, Trump spoke to the camera saying prosecutors have no case and that no crime has been committed. Today, Robert Costello, a lawyer who once advised Trump's former fixer Michael Cohen, will return to the stand after a dramatic day of testimony yesterday. The judge at one point was so angry, he cleared out the courtroom. ABC News senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky joins me now from outside court, along with ABC News senior reporter Catherine Falders and ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer for more. Aaron, let's start with what we can expect today. Bob Costello is on the stand. Will be on the stand. What is he expected to get into today?
Yeah, the judge just took his place at the bench, Diane. We expect that Robert Costello will return to the witness stand any moment now for, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes left of cross-examination by Assistant District Attorney Susan Hoffinger, who is going to try and question his account of meeting with Michael Cohen right after the feds raided Cohen's home and office in 2018 when Costello described Cohen as manic and suicidal. Hoffinger said, "You called him a drama queen, didn't you?" And Costello conceded that he did. And what the circumstances were of that meeting are kind of in doubt. Cohen said that he felt pressured to come into the fold because Costello was close with Rudy Giuliani, who was about to join Trump's legal team. And Costello said he didn't even want Cohen as a client. But there was the email to his son about how he landed Cohen as a client. It was all very confusing, and we know that Cohen has some truth issues here, so the prosecutors are going to do what they can with him. And then that should be it for the defense. They'll rest their case in all likelihood with no testimony from Trump himself.
Catherine, Donald Trump Jr. is in court with his father today for the first time, along with a number of Republican lawmakers in Trump's entourage. How significant is that?
I'm not totally surprised by that. We know that Trump's sons have been in court. Don Jr., this is his first time there. Of course, we've seen Eric Trump in court. So I'm not totally surprised by that, but I think it's definitely a continuation of this support that the former president wants in the courtroom. Obviously, we haven't seen Melania Trump at all. She has been essentially invisible from this trial, but in terms of the family. But then you see the group there. That's the group today walking in, the new group of supporters, if you will. And I think it just represents really how Trump is trying to bring the campaign to the courthouse. He said that publicly. He said he can't be out on the campaign trail. So why not bring his supporters and most adamant, members of Congress who are supporting him to the courthouse? So this is his entourage for the day, and we will continue to see that throughout the trial.
Brian, what do you make of Bob Costello's testimony so far, the impact for the defense here, and that moment with the judge yesterday where the judge cleared the courtroom and threatened to remove him from the witness stand?
Yeah, so impact, I think, outside of theatrics, it might have been to some degree beneficial for the defense because it gave them an alternative theory. It gave them this idea that they can argue that Michael Cohen may have been telling Bob Costello the truth, that he did not have anything on Donald Trump, and that he's lying not for the safety or to help Donald Trump, but that he was telling the truth in an opportunity where he could have told an attorney, "I've got dirt on Trump, use this for the SDNY to help me." However, the way that he performed in front of the jury, and luckily the judge pulled the jury out before they saw the real fireworks, I think that could harm him in the sense of one more outburst and the judge has already threatened. Hold his actions as contemptuous and throw out his entire testimony. I don't think any defense attorney is happy about that, and they're worried, if anything, that Bob Costello could go on another tangent that could have him running afoul with court rules.
In terms of the testimony itself, he is saying Michael Cohen told him before this trial ever started that he had nothing on Trump and that Trump didn't know about Stormy Daniels, this payment to Stormy Daniels. So how is the prosecution now going to respond to that?
So the prosecution already had Michael Cohen testify to some degree about this conversation, that Michael Cohen was somewhat hesitant of Bob Costello's relationship with Rudy Giuliani, and that this was more of a testing of the waters, so to speak, to see what Rudy Giuliani might have known and how this investigation was going about, and also to see whether or not Donald Trump was protecting him. So the prosecution prosecution can go that route of saying, yes, Michael Cohen might have told you X, but you don't know what he's thinking, which is Y. And Michael Cohen did testify to that. And so I think that's where the prosecution may go through their cross-examination of Bob Costello, which I say should last about 30 to 45 minutes.
And Aaron, yesterday the defense also made a motion to dismiss, saying there's no evidence that the records in question here or the filings in questions here were falsified. That is the prosecution's case. The judge hasn't ruled on that yet. What's the latest?
But he did seem a little skeptical. Judge Merchan was like, you want me to just toss the whole thing? Don't even give it to the jury. And defense attorney Todd Blanche said, yeah, and they shouldn't even consider Michael Cohen's testimony. And the judge was skeptical still, saying, you think he's going to fool 12 New Yorkers? So I'm not sure that the judge is going to grant this motion for a directed verdict. But it's common for the defense to make one upon the prosecution resting, and that's what the defense attorney did. And it really capped a rather theatrical day. I mean, clearing the courtroom. I was in there at the time. We all got told, yelled at to get out. Some of us objected to the press being taken out of a public trial. Merchan opted to keep what he told Costello without anybody there on the record, so we know that he said your behavior was contemptuous. And Bob Costello should know better. He was a prosecutor. He knows what it means when an objection is sustained, that he should have stopped talking. It seemed performative, and the judge finally had enough. You know, don't roll your eyes, don't say geez and exhale loudly. And then when Costello glared at him, the judge looked at him and said, are you staring me down? And that's when he cleared the courtroom, had everybody out so that he could admonish him further. It was pretty dramatic and a rare clearing of the courtroom. That's something you normally see in the movies.
And Brian, what does it do that this is an attorney? To Aaron's point, this is not someone who doesn't understand the normal decorum of a courtroom or the way these proceedings work. This guy does this for a living and yet had this exchange. Why do that?
It's not only knowledge, it's also that we are considered officers of the court and we're supposed to conduct ourselves in a specific manner. The way that you're allowed to conduct yourself as a reporter or just as a citizen is far different than me. I have a certain set of rules that I have to abide by. And so for an attorney to do that, I think flies in the face of what the judicial system is. And I think that's that frustration. Why do that? I think Aaron hit the nail on the head. It's performative. The only question in my mind is who is he performing for? Whether he thinks he's performing for the jury, he's definitely not performing for the judge or the prosecutor. Maybe he's performing for Donald Trump or someone else. But those actions, I think, can derail his credibility and also can have jurors looking at him in a way of, why would you do that? Who are you here for and who are you performing for? Where his testimony could have actually really helped.
And Bob Costello has resumed cross-examination, and our Josh Einiger is describing him as being a little snarky on the stand this morning already, sort of answering, giving a little more in an answer than he's necessarily asked. He just responded with something saying, I provided a lot of emails to your office. So we may be in for another dramatic day in court. We'll keep an eye on that. But Catherine, before he started testimony, the judge started with some bit of housekeeping and scheduling, talking about jury deliberations, closing arguments for next week. What is this timeline looking like now, and what does that mean for the Trump campaign?
Yeah, so the judge was saying that he's going to ask the jury about their availability to sit next Wednesday. We know that summations are currently scheduled for Tuesday. That's after Memorial Day. So having that additional Wednesday could really streamline this process. So we'll see what happens there. And look, I think at that point, after summations and the jury gets the case, it's in the hands of the jury. So it's just about how long they, in fact, deliberate. Now, what does that mean for the Trump campaign? If they sit on Wednesday, Trump can't go out and campaign on Wednesday. He hasn't really been doing much of that anyway. He's been doing that on the weekends. So I don't really think it slows down his campaign timeline or his desired campaign timeline, if you will.
And Brian, what are you watching for with Costello back on the stand? It seems Susan Hoffinger is trying to go after his relationship with Cohen, showing an email where Cohen is asking him to stop contacting him, saying, you've never represented me here. How much are they going to now try to distance this relationship between the two and essentially try to make the case, I suppose, that you didn't really know Michael Cohen that well. Why would he tell you these things?
Yeah, and Bob Costello kind of gave some hints of that already in his testimony, that he is not the actual one who knows Michael Cohen. That interaction that he's describing was the first time he met him, and it's his partner that did. So distancing him from Michael Cohen and being like, you don't really know Michael Cohen. You don't know how to gauge his truthfulness or lying, whether he's playing you or telling you the truth, and then show how that relationship devolved over time and how Michael Cohen, or at least try to establish how Michael Cohen may have distrusted Bob Costello because of his relationship with Rudy Giuliani. If they can, being the prosecution, raise that doubt in his testimony, I think that will help him a long way.
Aaron, what are you watching for next?
Well, see how the cross-examination goes, and then I guess the ultimate question is whether Donald Trump will testify in his own defense. He has said that he would. He has said that he wants to. His attorneys probably don't want him to. And while we're told the defense only has, these two witnesses, it was Costello, and before him they put their paralegal on to get a summary chart of phone calls into evidence. We think this is it, but until Trump says so, that he's not going to testify, we can't rule it out. So be waiting to see what he does once Costello is off the witness stand.
All right, Aaron Katersky, Catherine Falders, Brian Buckmeyer, thank you.